lords and ladies of the land, I welcome thee once more to another exciting day of jousts and duels here upon the 100 days of Yu-Gi-Oh! Every day, for 100 days, we shall be dueling with a different deck upon each and every day. I am Sir Memphis, noble knight errant of the Curry Kingdom, and I have welcoming you here for once again a special week of festivities. In this time, we shall be taking a look at a week of decks fashioned around the fair sex, which is the week of the waifu. I'm still not sure what a waifu is, but we are going to be dueling with decks centered around voluptuous women and such. Although I'm not sure what that is in today's episode. For today, we have a deck centered around some sort of heretic snake goddess creature. Not exactly my cup of tea, of course, but I have become far more tolerant since coming to this world, so therefore I will attempt it. Regardless, we have our deck today. We shall be summoning forth our snake woman, and we shall be summoning out all of our combos and our wombos and all of our what and what not do's. Thanks to Mr. Clorodus Venna, who is a man who wishes us to summon forth a snake deity. I'm not certain if that means he's a heretic or not. Possibly. If he is, we shall have to be sending him to the gallows or something, but we'll talk about that later. But now, we shall be going forth into today's festivities. If that would wish to know what cards we have, of course, it shall be at the end of today's duels. And of course, hit of all of the buttons, as you can do here. Hit the buttons with the like it and the comment and the subscribe it buttons. And now, let us go forth and see what these snake monsters can bring to us. Hello, my lords and ladies, and welcome to the first duel of the day. Another day, I should say. Another day and another joust, of course. Let's see. Quite the auspicious opening hand. Having one copy of the snake rain is always good. Having two copies is even better. One might say it's twice as good. And so, let's just see what we have against us. Let's see. Dragons, of course. Of course, a noble knight must face off against dragons. It is our want and our call. It is what we do. We slay dragons. So, we are up against some form of dragon deck. What is this? Samurai Monk Benkei. Let's see. Control a monster. Add a monster. Very well. Interesting indeed, I suppose. Alright, so you're summoned for a dragon, more dragon. Okay. So it's just more dragons, as one would expect. And you shall lay into me damage, you say? Well, it's certainly true I don't like to be hit with the damage, but it is what it is. It is what 'tis. So what else can you do? Let's see. Flare metal dragon, you say? Very well. Can't be destroyed. Very well. I suppose we'll have to simply go for it. I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing just because you summoned this creature. And I still have many cards I can activate in response to you. So we shall start with our Snake Rain, sending our 3 monsters we wish to send to the grave, followed by this other monster in case I need it. So send many creatures to the grave. I have 10 more activations of effects, sir. You shan't be stopping me from doing what I want to do. So I shall summon forth my Nunu monster, and we shall activate the effect of our Curse of the Ogdoadic monsters, which just goes to prove that Ogdoadic monsters are in fact evil creatures, but we shall suffer them today simply because they are what we are asked to do. Therefore, our Now Your monster shall now be revived thanks to our Curse monster. And this will search me out yet another card. I'm thinking of which way I wish this to go. I think I can make that work. Yes, I think this is going to be even better in the long run. Very much so. So shall activate the effect of our Ogdoadic of the Dark. We shall remove our monster from the board. And we shall summon forth our Dark monster. Now that'll do us more damage, but eventually he will be doing less damage. But once I destroy this creature, I see my opponent doing not much at all. So I shall recover my 2 monsters back to my graveyard, as I like to do, and I shall activate the Ogdoadic Daybreak spell. By removing my level 8 monster, I might summon forth 4 mighty token monsters. And they shall allow me to summon forth a Brave Knight from my deck, so that I might lay this creature low. Very well. Summon forth our 4 monsters. And we shall summon forth... Let's see if I can... Infernal buttons. The only buttons that are less infernal are the like buttons, of course, which we should always be pressing, apparently. But yes, here we go. We shall summon forth our own dragon, but this dragon, we're getting rid of this immediately. What is this? For every card I control dealing damage to me. I see. Well, luckily I don't need to use any more card effects at this turn. So I shall summon forth our Avramax creature, so that I might strike his dragon low. Finally ridding myself of my opponent's obnoxious behaviors. And I will not activate my effect, for I don't need to take any more damage. Alright. So now it is time for us to continue our combinations of cards. I shall send 4 more snakes to my graveyard. In this case, I'll send this one. I shall send for this one, and I suppose it doesn't really matter what else. I'll send forth my Vennominaga as well. That will work. And now that I've sent these cards to the graveyard specifically, we shall chain off the effect of the Neptulibus monster, as well as the Night Sword Serpent. Quite potent cards indeed. But they shall both revive themselves from my graveyard. So now we shall use the effect of our Neptulibus monster to revive the Kotal monster, which is our tuner of the day. So I might summon forth a Synchro monster as well, on top of everything else. And I suppose I could summon forth... I suppose I can't summon... No, I can only summon out reptile monsters, that's right. I was going to say I could summon forth the Saryuja monster, but this will work just as well. So I shall summon forth Melusine, which cannot be destroyed by my opponent's cards. So set a card upon our board. And let's see here. I could recover my Sword Serpent, but not yet. Let us end our turn for now and see what my opponent might do. So it seems like my opponent is playing not for these burning cards. He's attempting to lay me low by chips and wages. Therefore, I shall not be so what is the word I'm looking for? I'm not going to be annoyed by this, regardless of what my opponent wants to do. So he summoned forth a dragon again. As one would expect, it's not but dragons. So what does this one do? If your opponent summons a well, this card's far too late to do anything. So that will do for our first duel. You understand the power of this deck when we have both of our Snake Rain spells. We weren't able to summon out the Vennominaga monster, but it is quite easy to do in this deck once we have the trap card. So long as we have that one trap card, the trap tracks trap, then we will be able to do what we want. So we shall call it for our first duel. Quite good indeed. Let us go forth for the second joust of the day and summon forth the heretical snake woman. Now then, my lords and ladies, I welcome you to the second joust of the day. We shall boldly stride forth once more and summon forth the heretical snake woman as soon as I can agree with my opponent on first or seconds. Here we go. All right, what do we have? Well, we have the card we need. That's a good start. Let us see here. Let me think about this. It is not quite the hand I was looking for. But let's see what this goes. We shall start with our Horus monsters. That way I can draw myself another card at the very least. Very well. Very well. Let me think about this. This sends my light monster. I don't have my other dark monster I was looking for. But let us attempt something. We shall be going out of our way here, but I think this can work. We shall activate our Yugioh monster's effect, and we shall send a copy of Nunu to the grave. We shall use our King Sarcophagus lightly here to send some more monsters to the grave. And we shall now activate the effect of our Nunu. So revive Nunu from our graveyard. And we shall use the effect of our Ogdoadic curse here, so that I might summon it back. That way I can get myself my Yugioh back. Let me think here, because the most important thing right now is that I need to get out Vennominaga, which I should be able to do. How many serpents are in the grave? 1, 2, 3. I think I can make this work. It won't be as potent as normal, but I think I can make this work just fine. So I shall summon forth several creatures. Simply summon forth all of the Horus monsters that we have in our graveyard. And I think this will work just fine. We shall summon forth our Saryuja monster. Using these 4, yes. So summon forth our Saryuja creature. This will allow me to draw more cards. Let's see. Those are some very good cards. Those are some quite the good cards. But I'll keep Snake Rain in my hand for next turn. I think that will work just fine. And I should have just enough serpents in my graveyard. So I might send forth Vennominaga from my deck. Oh. Oh no, I was a card short. Wait. I think I can still make it work. Somehow. Alright, we'll summon forth Lizardos and use its ability. I was one card short. Or rather, I had one card too many, something of the nature. Well, regardless of that, let's draw another card. Tis regrettable indeed. I miscounted the cards. Now, granted, such can happen to anyone, but at the same time, I am not amused at all. So send more cards to my graveyard, and we'll have to wait till next turn and see where this goes. Regrettably, I made a slight miscalculation, but I think I can still make this work just fine. I just need to survive a turn, and then we'll be fine. So we're up against, let's see, Toon cards. Very well. Toon cards indeed. And I do have my Trap Tracks Trap, which is the main card to something for the Vennominaga. But we aren't going to be using it just yet. Let's see. Summoner Monk. Very well. Summoning forth another monster, being the Treasured Panda. What on earth is that supposed to be? Alright, so you're going to use this monster's effect to summoning out Mokey-Mokey. Alright? An outcast angel. I can see why he's an outcast. He's quite hideous to look at. Alright, White Dust Horn. What on earth are you up to? Oh, you summoned Saryuja as well. Alright. I was a little confused for a moment, but there you go. Very well. Let me think on this. Very well, very well, very well. So we're up against something else that also uses Saryuja Skull Tread, which can mean many different things. But I'm not quite concerned or anything. And you're summoning another of this? Very well. I suppose you do still have another spell to remove. But I'm curious. He must be trying to search out a card, much as I do. Much as I do, my opponent which wished to summon forth more cards. Again with the Mokey-Mokey monster, though. Very well. I'm quite confused. Very well. Where art thou? I would ask that myself. Alright, so this appears to be some sort of Mokey-Mokey deck of some form. Let's see. Add a Mokey-Mokey card. The fairy is destroyed. Very well. Well, because you sent a monster to thine grave, I shall summon forth my Nepthribis monster. This way, so long as this monster survives, and I suppose I could have put it here to give more power, but it doesn't matter. So long as it survives, next turn I might summon forth my Vennominaga. That is what we wish to do, and therefore I am good with this. So, once again, getting rid of your spells. Very well. Summoning forth another Mokey-Mokey. Very well. I assume... What did that spell do again? Let's see, what does this card do? Face Up Fairy is destroyed while you control Mokey-Mokey. All Mokey-Mokeys will become 3,000 attack points. Well, that is certainly something indeed. Very well. Alright, but thankfully you only have... This is not a fairy. This is not a fairy. You only have the two fairy monsters, so... I'm not worried. Not worried at all. My Nepthribis monster is stronger than 3,000, so this is quite good for me. Very well. So now what will you do? You have run out of spells to remove from thine graveyard. Therefore your panda monster will do you no good. So I suppose... If I was to guess, my opponent's plan is to have his Mokey-Mokey attack into mine lizard, and then when it is destroyed, his other monster will be strong enough to beat the lizard. Seems a bit of a short-sighted plan. What is this? SP Little the Knight. I see. You're going to remove my monster. Well, that is unfortunate. I was hoping to use that, but I suppose it will have to do for now. I only have myself to blame for miscounting the number of reptiles in my grave. I could have sworn I had 5, but I must have been off. Alright. So, yes, my opponent will do exactly as I said that they would be doing. They were destroying their monster so they can lay my lizard low. But again, it's quite alright. I don't really mind it. I don't really mind it all that much. Very well. Yes, so this monster can't attack directly. Very well. You'll use another Where Art Thou? Very well. Let's see. You'll add the white Dust Horn monster. Very well. Won't you take damage because you didn't summon that creature, though? Or am I mistaken? No, I am not in any way mistaken. Very well. Alright. Drawn into my Snake Rain spell. Very well. Let us summon forth our Nunu. So we'll summon forth our monster yet again. Because if there's one thing I wish to do, is summon forth the Vennominaga monster. So shall summon forth our curse. And the curse will revive our Naoya. Removing both our monsters from the field, you say? Well, it is what it is. We shall get forth our Naoya, using its ability. And I shall search forth another Water Lily. Alright, now I need to double check my graveyard before I do anything. 1, 2... Let's see. 3. This would be the 4th. Alright. I think... Oh, I'm still affected by my Nepthribus monster. That's not good. That's not good at all. Let me think about this. I suppose I'll simply end my turn for now. That's quite alright. I'll keep my monsters in defensive mode, therefore my opponent can't defeat my monsters. So next turn, I'll be able to do what I wish to do. Alright, you summoning forth... Oh, that is quite a few Mokey-Mokey monsters. That is quite a few of them. They don't look like much on their own, but in a group they look like quite a beast. But thankfully I put my monsters in defense mode, so it really doesn't matter as much. Alright, so this will... weaken my monster's attack, but not their defenses. Very well. Very well indeed, sir. You summon forth a Mokey-Mokey once more. Alright. I mean, this is all well and good. My next turn, I'm thinking I'll simply... Oh, what is this? Fire a dragon? What sort of dragon? Target monsters on the field or the grave, and then the monsters co-linked to this card. Very well. I'm concerned slightly at this. Not overly concerned, but at the same time, I feel like I should be somewhat concerned at this. But we shall see. We shall see indeed. Alrighty, now it is finally my turn. I shall activate my Snake Rain spell. For certain this time, I will have enough reptiles in the graveyard to summon forth my Deity of Snakes. And my opponent has something they could do. He can link summon on my turn. Very well. I mean, if that is what you wish to do, go ahead. Go ahead, I'm not afraid. Alright, let's send forth 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to make sure they all have different names so there's no more problems. Very good. So let's summon forth our Snake Lily. So send forth yet another snake to the grave. This time being mine Kotal. And I shall revive Vennominaga, the king of the poisonous snakes. Wherever he is. There he is. So summon forth Vennominaga. He'll only have 4,000 attack, which isn't as large as I'd like it to be. But it's good enough. It's quite good enough. Very well. Now what are you doing? He still has something. That is true. Now this is going to be the tricky part of this, because normally with this trap card, if your opponent does anything whilst thou art playing this, things get bad. But we'll destroy our monster and set forth the rise of the Snake Deity. That way I can activate it right now. And come forth, mighty goddess of snakes, heretic that you are, there you are on the board. We have succeeded. Very good. So now let us go ahead and summon out the horse monsters. That way I can remove these problematic cards from my opponent's board. But yes, this is exactly what the deck wants to do. We have summoned forth our Deity of Snakes. She cannot be affected by any card of mine opponent. Doesn't matter what they play. But this will allow me to simply annihilate everything my opponent has. But they surrender, as is their want and their due. That's what happens when you rely on dragons to do things for you. So, there you are, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go for one more joust of the day. We've successfully done what we wish to do. We've summoned forth our Deity of Snakes. You know, she's quite powerful indeed. So much so my opponents, they don't know what to do with her. So let's go forth for our final joust and end ourselves a very good day. Very lords and ladies, I will do the third and final joust of the day. It has been quite a good day. We have summoned forth our deity of snakes, and we shall continue to do so as much as we can. Let's see here. Well, we'll start with our Horus monsters as much as I don't need them as much. We'll have them. They'll draw me more cards. Maybe they might draw me a snake range spell right here. Well, there you go. Very well. Very good. Very good. So let us send our Night Serpent. I don't think it really matters here. But we shall send the usual monsters to the grave and do the usual sorts of combos. That is what our deck is very consistent at doing, of course. The Ogdoadic combo, as it is called. To summon forth one snake after another. It also just maintains all my snakes in the grave, which is also very good. So I'm quite happy with this deck, although I don't really like the whole idea of, aiding a heretical deity in any fashion other than helping them into the grave. We have been able to do what we wish to do. We have summoned forth Vennominaga, though she didn't get to attack or anything, but she terrified my opponent to death. Let us call it that. They had a heart attack and died. That is what happened, and I'm going with it. So let's go forth. And I will say a potential bonus of this deck is that because I'm playing the Horus cards, my opponent is less likely to stop my other cards, for they are so terrified of these cards themselves. Let's see. Let's summon forth the Vampire monster. Haven't done him quite as much. So let's go ahead and use its ability. That way we might know what my opponent is up to. Let's see. I can summon forth a monster, and in this case, my opponent is playing some sort of water deck or something. Not 100% sure on that one. Let's see here. Many a card to play. Many a card. Let's see here. If I normal summon my Kotal monster, then I can make the King of the Swamp. And then potentially get another level 4. A difficult decision for certain. But I think this will work just as well. We'll start nice and simple here. I think we can afford it. So we shall summon forth our Reptilian Melusine monster. Have that upon our board so that it can weaken anything my opponent tries to summon. And I shall save my Horus cards for next turn. No need to use them now. Don't need them. So now what can my opponent do? Don't yet know what their deck is attempting to summon forth. He did lose some quite potent cards, it appears. So we shall see. I do have my Melusine, though. It cannot be destroyed by battle or by cards, so long as it has all the reptiles as its materials. And it can weaken any opponent's monsters once per chain, meaning not once per turn, simply changing my opponent's monster's attack to 0. Which we'll do, even though it doesn't really affect this monster, I don't think, but I shall do it regardless. Your monster's attack will become 0. So what does this monster do? Double the first damage by a numbered monster battling another monster. Very well. So my opponent is attempting to summon out his fish creatures. I will say these are the least appetizing looking sharks I've ever seen in my life. But you do you. Alright, well, wait a minute. What does it do again? Different name. Very well. Well, I'm just going to keep attacking your monsters and making sure that they have no attack points. No matter what you do, your monsters will have 0 attack points. It's quite good. Very well, so you're summoning yet another monster, being this creature, which definitely does not look like a shark. I'm not even sure what this is supposed to be. I wouldn't eat this. I mean, sharks are delicious, but this? No, I don't think so. Alright, so what is this monster? Summon a monster from the extra deck, cannot attack. Very well. Once more, your monster will have no attack. Even if it could attack, it won't be able to. Haha. Very well, so you've used this monster's ability, summoning out a monster. What is that? Ugh. It's some sort of hideous-looking frog creature. Let's see. I will activate once more my monster's effect. I have no reason not to keep doing this. I shall keep removing your monster's attack points. Very well. Well, I can't be destroyed, so I've wasted your monster. Haha! My plan worked to perfection. Granted, you're going to keep doing that. Something you do. But I will do the same. My deck can be quite annoying if you didn't know. Very well, so we shall keep reducing my opponent's attacks to 0. Oh, well, that is unfortunate. But thankfully, my Melusine has another ability. But you see, when she happens to be sent to the grave, I can search out any reptile monster I wish. In this particular instance, that is a good question. What do I want to add? There's a lot of cards I could get into. I suppose I'll add mine Empress Alasia. She's the best card to simply have in my hand. Very well. So your monsters have no attack points. This has no attack points. I have my giant turtle creature, which I didn't want, but I have it now. So what can you do with it? What may that do? Let's see. Stealth Kragen. All monsters become water monsters. Destroy a water monster. Inflict damage equal to half its attack on the field. I see. That can be quite annoying. Although, if I had my Rise of the Snake Deity trap, that would aid me in my cause, destroying my Vennominaga. So I could work with a card like that. What is it doing? Summoning a monster from the hand of the grave. Cannot summon except for Exceed. That hardly seems like a restriction. It seems that all my opponent is doing is summoning the Exceed monsters. I feel like that should have a better sort of restriction if you wanted it to have one in the first place. That's all I'm saying. Alright, getting an Armored Shark. Very well. Sending a monster to the grave. Let's see. Alright, so my opponent is summoning up more monsters. I wish I had my Melusine still. She was a good girl. She was doing everything I wanted her to do. She was reducing my opponent's attack to 0. That's exactly what I needed her to do. As it stands, this might get difficult here. Hard to say. Hard to say. Let's see. Yes. Yes, indeed. So you shall summon 4 that. What does this do? Once per turn, if an equipped card is equipped to a monster, attach a monster opponent controls this card as a material. Monster cannot be destroyed battle, and if it battles a monster, returns an equipped card. Exceed summons again. I see. And you've also stolen my vampire monster. I'm not a fan of that. Just for the record. Alright. Very well. This might not be good. Perhaps I should have summoned forth the Horus monsters after all. But it appears that my opponent is about to do something. I think this might be the end of the duel already. Regrettably so. We started out quite well. But unfortunately my opponent has too many high attack monsters, so taken down by treachery and villainy. That's for certain. If only Melusine was still on the board, I could have stopped everything my opponent had. Regrettable, but unfortunately that is the time we have for today. Let us stride forth into the end of screen, where we shall talk more about this deck. Then, my lords and ladies, I want to into the end of the screen. Our deck of Vennominaga went 2 out of 3 jousts, which, to be fair, our final duel would have been a win, assuredly, if it wasn't for my opponent's treachery and deceitfulness. But regardless of that, we were able to summon forth a Vennominaga monster, which is quite easy to do so long as you can get to this trap card upon line board. But otherwise, if we don't get to do that, our deck has many different combos and many different wombos as well, for which we might summon forth many a creature. Therefore, I call this deck a successful deck. We summoned forth Vennominaga, scared someone to death with it, and also hit our opponent with lots of other monsters. So, if thou did enjoy it, show that you appreciate by hitting the like it button and hitting the comment button and also the subscription button as well to join the Curry Kingdom, for we must reach ourselves into new heights every day. So here is the deck that we played today, and then I shall describe tomorrow's deck as well. So for our main deck, we have ourselves 1 copy of the Neph the Abyss monster, 1 copy of the Heretical Snake Deity. We have 2 copies of the Horus monster, and 1 of each of the other Horus monsters. A little bit, cut down from the typical Horus cards, because it's not what we're always trying to do. So, but just enough that we can use it. We have 2 copies of the Therian Alasia monster as another level 8 monster we can summon onto our field, and as an additional way to summon forth Vennominaga. We have ourselves 1 copy of the Dark Ogdoadic and 1 of the Cursed Ogdoadic. We have, again, 2 copies of Vennominaga the King. We have 1 copy of the Zoe Ogdoadic Boundless creature, which I'm not even sure what it is, but it is a thing. 3 copies of the Reptilian Kodal as our tuna monster. 1 Kage to Kage. which is some sort of lizard. 1 copy of the Night Sword Serpent, a mighty beast indeed. 2 copies of the Now Ya monster, and 2 copies of the Nunu monster for the major part of our combo. We have 3 copies of the Snaketh Rain, for it is quite good in this deck. 3 copies of the Water Lily to send more snakes to the graveyard, and if you happen to have enough reptiles with different names of the grave, that might summon 1 back. 2 copies of the Trade-In spell, for we have quite a few level 8 monsters in this deck. It is quite a good card to have in case one has a card in the hand one doesn't wish to have. 1 copy of the Foolish Burial if you happen to need to simply send more cards to the grave. If you don't summon out your Snake Rain or something happens. 1 Monsters Reborn, for one can never revive enough in this deck. 1 copy of the Grawl by the Grave to stop our opponent from doing things to us. We have 1 other Monster Reborn for the same reason. 1 copy of the Ogdoadic Daybreak, which allows me to summon forth many a mighty token, to summon many a mighty link. 1 copy of the King Sarcophagus for our Horus cards. 1 Rise of the Snake Deity, we only need the 1 really, where we have 3 of this thing. For the Trap Tracks card, can destroy our monsters to set this from the deck and allow it to be played in the same turn. Quite good. And lastly, the 1 offering of the Snake Deity. I do not subscribe to any sort of wicked snake goddess, therefore I will not offer it anything more than bare minimum. And that being a swift kick to the rear. So that is what we have in our main deck. For our extra deck, we have things like the Reptilian Echidna, we have the Masquerena, the Lizard Doge, 1 of the Proximic Dragon, 1 Sardusia, 1 Ragnarika Chain Coils, 1 Mighty Knight Crusade Avermax. We have ourselves 1 Rika Queen Strenna, which is some sort of fey creature, so kick that in the rear as well. We have ourselves 2 copies of the King of Feral Imps back to his swamp after today's festivities. 1 copy of the Coach Giant Trainer. 1 Undead Vampire, which will be staked of course. We have 1 copy of the Sacred Tree Beast Hyperiton, which is something I suppose Druids would appreciate. We have 1 Double A Zeus, the Sky Thunder, and 1 Melusine Reptilian. Quite a good card. As for the side cards in our today's deck, we have things such as the evil Ananta Dragon, which is of course a Dark God Dragon, which must be smited. But if you want a monster that gives you lots of attack points, then that is a thing that can happen. We have the Lamia monster, which searches out our level 8 reptiles from our deck to the hand. We have things like the Black Mamba, which can be special summoned when we summon out our reptiles, and also sends another monster to the graveyard. We also have the dangerous Tsuchinoko, which can also send cards to the grave, though it is quite random indeed. There's also things like Reptilian Hydra, if my opponent's monsters are all being changed into 0 attack points, to destroy them and draw more cards. You can summon forth the Linked 5 Dragon by using your Ogdoadic Daybreak to summon this creature out. It will not have all of its abilities, but it will be immune to everything and have 5,000 attack points. So do as you wish to do. There's also other things like the Underworld's Goddess, the Unchained Abomination, the Crossout Designator if you don't want to be hit by various hand effects. There's also things like Ogdoadic Sign, or Origin, the other card is the Sign, whatever. But this can protect your monsters by sending other cards to the graveyard. And lastly, more offerings if you are so inclined. So there is today's deck, everyone. I hope that did very much enjoy it. And for tomorrow's festivities, you might think I'd be disgusted to be playing a dragon deck, but apparently these ones are the good dragons. So we shall be playing a Blue Eyes White Dragon deck. So we shall be joining you tomorrow with those festivities. For now, thank thee very much for joining us today, and I, Sir Memphis, noble knight errant of the Curry Kingdom, shall join thee on the morrow. Take care, my lords and ladies.